The docking bay shimmered beneath Velthran's twin suns, casting long golden shadows over the human delegation. Towering silver spires stretched into a violet sky. Hovercrafts glided silently past crystalline trees. It was all breathtaking, but Orion Vance didn't flinch. He'd seen beauty in war zones and silence before ambushes. This was just a different battlefield. "Captain Vance," a silky voice called. He turned. She stood like a statue carved from fire and steel. Orange-gold skin shimmered beneath a high-collared, skin-tight uniform. Her silver hair flowed like molten ice. And those eyes, arctic, unblinking, fixed on him with a disdain that should have shriveled his soul. "Princess Kylera Viren, Seraphine of the High Caste. I'll be your handler." Handler. Like he was a creature that needed taming. "Pleasure," Orion said flatly. She didn't offer a hand. Instead, she turned and walked, expecting him to follow like a pet. He did, but not out of submission. He was calculating. Every move, every glance, was a test. Inside the palace, everything dripped with alien majesty, floors made of liquid glass, walls pulsing with soft biolight. His team was escorted away. Kylera led him to a vast hall, empty save for a circle of elevated observers. Velthran's ruling council. Ambassador Vance, one of the elders began, his voice low and melodic. "Your presence here is unexpected. Our border patrols were attacked by Velthran raiders," Orion said. "We were invited to negotiate peace." "A misunderstanding," Kylera interrupted. "One that does not warrant human arrogance on sacred ground." Orion didn't move. "Peace demands presence, Highness." She turned to him fully now, stepping into his space. Her eyes narrowed. "You forget your place, human." The word dripped like acid. Orion met her gaze. "And you forget your manners." "I was invited." The council murmured. Tension thickened. Kylera's nostrils flared. She turned back to the observers. "I invoke the right of dominion." Gasps echoed. Orion didn't react. He didn't know what it was, but judging by the ripple it caused, it was serious. A counselor stood. "Princess, that tradition is sacred." She raised her hand. "Then let it judge whether this creature deserves the honor of walking among us." Orion's voice was steady. "And what exactly does this rite entail?" Kylera faced him again. "A test. You face the trials. If you fail, you admit your inferiority and withdraw. If you win..." She hesitated. Her eyes flicked to the others. "If you win, you claim the right of first night." Orion blinked. "First night? With whom?" Kylera's voice dropped into a blade-like whisper. "Me." The room fell silent. Orion raised a brow. "That's some peace negotiation." Kylera's fists tightened. "You mock sacred Veltheri law?" "No," he said calmly. "I mock arrogant royalty hiding behind it." A tremor passed through her composure. Councillor Dirin intervened. "This tradition has not been invoked in a generation. But it is legal. The human may choose to decline." All eyes turned to Orion. The weight of centuries pressed down on him. He saw Kylera then not just proud and beautiful, but terrified of what she couldn't control. He smiled, slow and deliberate. "I accept." Kylera's lips parted slightly. For the first time, she didn't look certain. Councillor Dirin nodded. "Then it is decided. The trials begin in 2 cycles." As the council dispersed, Kylera remained still, watching him with eyes no longer cold but burning. "You're making a mistake," she said. Orion stepped closer. "You don't get to insult a man, then be shocked when he stands taller." Her voice was low, tense. "You don't understand what this means. Try me. If you win, you won't just touch me. You'll own part of my soul. That's what the rite binds." Orion studied her face, perfect, unreadable, except for the flicker of something like fear behind her eyes. "Then maybe don't challenge people you don't want to bind to." Kylera turned, this time not walking away in command, but retreat. Later, Orion sat alone in the guest wing, overlooking the glowing cityscape. His lieutenant's voice crackled through the comm. "You really going through with this, sir?" I don't back down, Eli, Orion said. Not when dignity's on the table. This isn't just dignity. It's Veltheri law. You win, and she's yours. Orion exhaled. I don't want her. I want her to understand we're not beneath her. There was silence on the line, then Eli spoke again. Just make sure you're not proving something, only to lose yourself in it. He cut the line and stood. The stars above Veltherin pulsed like veins in a living sky. Somewhere in that palace, Kylera was no doubt regretting her own challenge. But so was he. Because for the first time in a long time, this wasn't just about politics. It was personal. And beneath all that pride, beneath the caste and tradition, he'd seen something in her eyes. Not hatred. Curiosity. And curiosity was always dangerous. Especially when it was mutual. The courtyard was alive with whispers. Veltheri citizens, glowing-skinned, elegant, in garments woven from biosilk, lined the glasswalks above the arena. Below, in the ceremonial pit, sand the color of ash shimmered faintly beneath twin suns. In the center stood Orion, alone, waiting. The trials were beginning. He'd had no time to train. No chance to prepare. Kylera had ensured that. But this wasn't about fighting. Not yet. The trials weren't about blood, they were about endurance, intellect, and will. Prove yourself in body, mind, and soul, and win the right. Orion wasn't here for conquest. He was here for something far more dangerous, to make her see him. From the far gate, Kylera emerged in full ceremonial armor, obsidian plating that wrapped her like living stone, trimmed with threads of white light. Her hair was coiled into a crown-like spiral, and behind her trailed 2 royal guards. She didn't look at him. Not yet. The high priest began the chant. Trial 1, the Gauntlet of Resolve. A circular platform rose from the arena floor. Upon it, a spiral maze of shifting columns, each one glowing with psychic force. The task, navigate through blindfolded, guided only by intuition and resistance to fear. Orion stepped forward as a drape was tied around his eyes. Darkness. He inhaled deeply. Begin, the priest commanded. The ground moved. Columns rearranged. Static energy hissed through the air like distant thunder. Orion advanced slowly. Every wrong step triggered a pulse of psychic pressure, pushing on his memories, forcing visions. He stumbled. Flash, his squad's death on Icarian Prime. Flash, his mother crying on a comm screen after the war. Flash, Kylera's voice, cold and mocking, "You're beneath me." He clenched his fists and pushed forward. Not because he was immune, but because he wasn't. He felt it all. That was the difference. That was human. 10 minutes passed. 15. Then silence. He emerged at the other end, blindfold falling away. The arena applauded, not loud, but stunned. Even Kylera's jaw tightened, a flicker of disbelief slipping through her mask. Trial 1, passed, the priest declared. Kylera's voice rang out, sharp and calculated. He got lucky. Orion smiled up at her. Then let's keep testing my luck. 2 hours later, Trial 2 began, the mirror of intent. A telepathic interface. Opponents sat across from each other, palms on a glowing disc. The challenge? Maintain emotional control while bombarded with your rival's thoughts. Kylera descended the steps this time. To break this link, she said softly, you'll have to admit something. Out loud. A truth you fear. Orion took his seat opposite her. Ladies first. They touched the disc. Instantly, a wave of heat shot through Orion's chest. Not physical, emotional. Her emotion. Rage, guilt, desire. Flashes of her youth. A golden palace. A voice, her mother's, drilling into her. Caste is survival. Intimacy is submission. Rule or be ruled. Then the tide turned. Kylera gasped. Now she was seeing him. Trenches. Cold nights. Faces lost. Hands blooded not in glory, but necessity. She saw him kneeling by a dying friend. Not as a soldier. As a man. Their breath synced. And then the priest's voice shattered the silence. Admit it, he said. Confess your fear. Orion spoke first. I'm afraid, That no matter what I do, it'll never be enough to earn real respect. Kylira's lips parted. A tremor passed through her. Her voice, barely above a whisper, I'm afraid that if I let anyone close, I'll forget who I'm supposed to be. The link broke. The crowd was dead quiet. Trial 2, passed, the priest said again, his tone unreadable. Kylira stood abruptly. She didn't look at Orion. This time, she walked away like someone unsure of where she was going. That evening, he found her on a private terrace overlooking the city. The stars had begun to rise. You shouldn't be here, she said, not turning. I figured you'd say that. She exhaled, arms crossed. You're winning. I'm not here to win, he said. I'm here to be seen. She finally turned. Her eyes, though fierce, were not cruel. Why do you care what I think? Because you don't see me. Not really. You see what your caste told you I am. You are a lesser species, she said coldly. He stepped forward. Then why are you trembling? Kylira's jaw clenched. Because, he said, voice low, you feel it too. This thing between us. She turned sharply. There's nothing between us. Then look me in the eye and say that. Silence. He waited. But she didn't speak. Instead, she walked toward the edge of the terrace and placed both hands on the railing. I was bred for command, she said quietly. I've seen lesser beings beg to die with dignity. I've never met someone who challenged me like you. Orion came to stand beside her. Maybe because I'm not trying to beat you. I'm trying to show you what equality looks like. I don't know if I believe in that, she murmured. You will. She turned again, closer now. If you win the final trial, you'll have the right. I know. Her voice broke just slightly. And if I said I didn't want you to use it? He looked at her then, not as a prize, not as a rival, but as a woman bound by chains she never chose. Then I won't. Kylira's gaze lingered on him, unreadable. Then she stepped away, retreating again. Be ready, she said. The last trial is unlike anything you've faced. Orion nodded. Good. Neither are you. And with that, she was gone, vanishing into the alien night, leaving behind only silence, and the storm quietly brewing in both their chests. The final trial was silence. No ceremony. No fanfare. No crowd. Only Kylira and Orion, seated opposite each other on a circular platform of obsidian glass, suspended high above the palace gardens. Beneath them, a sea of glowing vines pulsed with the rhythm of life. Above, stars cut the dark like cold needles. This was the soul mirror. A telepathic duel unlike the last, deeper, rawer. No illusions. The moment they touched minds, everything would be exposed. Memories. Secrets. Desires. The one who flinched would lose. Kylira's voice was calm. Too calm. You know the rules. I do, Orion said. But do you? She met his eyes. What's that supposed to mean? He leaned forward. You think you're the one with something to lose. But I've seen you. You're terrified of wanting anything you can't control. Her fingers twitched, but she said nothing. They placed their hands on the stone between them. The moment their palms touched, the world dissolved. Orion was no longer on the platform. He was inside her. A rush of golden memories, her as a child, reciting caste lore while her hands bled from punishment. Her mother's voice, cool and precise. Compassion is weakness. Attachment is contamination. Another flash, Kylira in training, beating down opponents twice her size, weeping in private after every match, ashamed of the joy it gave her. She never wanted power. She wanted peace. Then he was exposed. Kylira saw the battlefield of Dorenthus 6. Orion, knees deep in mud, dragging a wounded enemy back to safety while his squad screamed at him to leave the alien behind. Saw the betrayal when command court-martialed him. Saw the sleepless nights afterward. The guilt. The loneliness. His first love, dying of radiation burns in his arms. His failure to cry. His decision to never fall again. She gasped. But the link held. Then came something neither expected. A shared image, not memory, not projection. Possibility. Kylira in his arms, lips barely brushing. A room without protocol. A night without war. She whispered his name like a secret, not a defiance. And he said hers with reverence, not conquest. They both jolted. The stone glowed white-hot. They released hands at the same time, breathless. Orion stared at her. Did you see that? Kylera looked away. That wasn't real. It could be. She stood. Her face was unreadable, but her voice cracked. You've won. He rose slowly. And what do I get? Her gaze snapped to his, defiant. What the rite promised. Me. For one night. He studied her. No. The word cut the air like a blade. Her brows furrowed. What? I don't want a prize, he said. I want a choice. Yours. Silence. Then her voice, sharp but soft underneath. You don't understand what you're giving up. I do, Orion replied. I'm giving you something no one in your life ever has. She clenched her fists. Don't try to make this noble. You wanted me. You proved yourself. I didn't come here to take you, he said. I came to show you I see you. But if that's not enough, I'll walk away. He meant it. Kylera watched him turn. He took 3 steps toward the exit. Then, wait. He stopped. She was trembling now. Not from fear. From something far older. I don't want to be one, she said, voice breaking. I want to be chosen. Orion turned back. Then choose. Kylera stepped forward, slowly. 1 step. Then another. Her armor fell away piece by piece, dissolving into light as she crossed the platform. When she stood before him, there was no royalty. No warrior. No caste. Only a woman. She raised her hand to his chest, resting it above his heart. I hated you, she whispered. Because you made me feel like I didn't know who I was. His hand gently covered hers. Maybe it's time to find out. She leaned in, and when their lips met, it wasn't explosive. It was quiet. Like the first breath after drowning. Later, in the stillness of her chambers, Kylera sat curled in silk sheets while Orion stood at the window, half-dressed, watching the stars. You didn't touch me, she said, almost accusingly. He turned, smirking. Didn't I? She blushed. Just faintly. You know what I mean. I wasn't sure you'd want more than a moment. I wasn't sure either, she whispered. But now I'm terrified. Of what? That I'll wake up and this will go back to being about caste. Power. Politics. He sat beside her. We write the rules now. You and me. She turned toward him, serious. The council won't accept this. Let them try and stop us. Kylera looked into his eyes, saw the promise of rebellion and tenderness and heat. Saw, for the first time, a man not trying to own her but stand beside her. She kissed him again. And this time, when they fell together, there were no laws. No rights. Just 2 souls, breaking generations of chains with one shared breath. The sun rose over Velthrin like molten gold spilling across a crystal world. Inside the royal chamber, the glow found Kylera first her bare shoulder, the edge of her collarbone, then the half-formed thoughts in her open eyes. She was already awake. Orion still slept beside her, one arm across the sheets, the other over his chest as if guarding something soft beneath his skin. His breathing was calm, deep, trusting. She'd never seen anyone sleep like that here. She sat up slowly, careful not to disturb him. Her body ached not from passion, but from the unraveling of something much deeper. The armor she'd worn her entire life had cracked open last night. And now, the morning light asked her what she planned to do with that freedom. Kylera moved to the edge of the bed. Her feet touched the floor. Cold. Real. She stood, wrapped in silence, and walked to the window. Velthrin stretched before her, gleaming, ordered, stratified. A city built on hierarchy. Every tower, every district, reminded her of what her people believed, that chaos was death and control was salvation. And now a human lay in her bed. By choice. Without force. Without ritual. By her choice. A voice broke the silence. Low. Dry. You always think that hard in the morning? She turned. Orion was awake now, watching her, head resting on his arm. I was deciding, she said. He sat up, stretching. About me? No, she said. About us. He paused, reading the tone in her voice. Is this the part where you tell me it was a mistake? She met his gaze. No. It was the only honest thing I've done in years. Relief flickered across his face, but it didn't stay. What now? He asked. She walked back to him, slowly. Sat on the edge of the bed. Now I go to the council. And I break the law. Orion raised a brow. That's a bold way to say good morning. Kylera didn't smile. If I don't stand beside you publicly, they'll spin it. They'll say the rite was corrupted. That I was coerced. That you're manipulating me. They'll erase what we are before we've had a chance to be anything. He studied her for a long moment. You're serious. Deadly. He nodded. Then let me stand beside you. She hesitated. You understand the risk. I understand you, he said. And that was enough. The council chamber buzzed with whispers before Kylera even stepped inside. Word had traveled fast. The human had won. The rite had been claimed. The princess had vanished with him for the night. But nothing prepared them for what happened next. She entered through the central archway not with a lowered head or veiled shame, but in her full ceremonial attire, minus the crown. Orion walked behind her, unarmed, unapologetic. Gasps rippled through the room. Councillor Dirin stood. Princess. I speak by right of blood, she interrupted. I hold sovereign voice. None may silence me. The chamber quieted. Kylera stepped into the center, shoulders squared. The rite of dominion has concluded. The victor was not of Velthran blood. He is not of caste. Yet he completed every trial with honor, restraint, and clarity of soul. Dirin's voice was sharp. Are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting, she said. I'm declaring. I choose him. Not as a victor. Not as a trophy. As an equal. The room erupted. Voices clashed, elders shouted, emissaries stood in protest. One accused her of cultural betrayal. Another demanded her resignation. A third invoked ancient prophecy. Kylera didn't flinch. When silence returned, she spoke again. The law must change. The caste cannot dictate love. Not anymore. All eyes turned to Orion, waiting for him to speak. He didn't grandstand. He didn't lecture. He stepped forward and simply said, This isn't about politics. I didn't come here to conquer. I came because one of you looked me in the eye and made me believe something better was possible. He turned to Kylera. She made me believe. Another outcry surged, but this time, there were pockets of silence within it. A few heads nodding. A few gazes softening. Kylera saw it. The shift. The crack. Change had begun. That evening, back in the same chamber where they had first exchanged words like weapons, Kylera stood with him again. The lights were dimmer now, ceremonial, quiet. The council had adjourned for review. Decisions would come in time. But something else had already happened. She looked at him, standing there, arms folded, gaze steady. You could have walked away, she said. I was ready to. But you didn't. No, he said. Because you didn't let me. A pause. Then Kylera reached for his hand, not as royalty, not as ritual. As herself. They stepped outside together into the velvet dusk. Below, the people of Velthran watched in silence as their future walked past them, not in command, not in fear, but hand in hand with what they once called beneath. Orion turned to her as they reached the palace steps. What now? Kylera's lips lifted in the faintest smile. Now we write history. Final line. You were never beneath me, she whispered. You were the only one who dared to rise.